Hey, we're here with Lael Lockhart. Erie Seawolves left-handed pitcher, just started yesterday, 6 innings. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
We always ask our guests about their earliest baseball memory.
Oh,
Putting you on the spot here,
okay.
but if you have one that sticks out to you.
Little League baseball, there's a rule in my hometown Little League to where you can't roll the ball to first base anymore, because whenever I was growing up, the kid that would play first couldn't catch it at the time. So just being hyper competitive at the time, I started rolling it over there.
So there's the Lael Lockhart rule.
Yeah,
in
there's
Little League?
I think that's the rule over there now, and it's kind of funny just having that little claim to fame at my hometown field. So that's probably my first memory, I would say.
That's outstanding. All right, are you from Friendswood? Is that where it is?
Friendswood, Texas, yeah.
So I think that's where Isaac Pacheco is from, another player from the Tigers. I don't know if there's probably, Texas is pretty big for baseball. I imagine some other big leaguers down there. But yeah, so, we were digging up on your background because you kind of showed up in the middle of the year. And we're like, okay, so 4 years, basically two-way player at Houston.
Yep.
And I was curious because your senior year was the pandemic year, right? 2020?
Yes. Yeah.
And I was curious if that led to maybe more full-time pitching because you couldn't. It's hard to find a game and hit.
Right.
But
so growing up, like once I got to college, it was pitching kind of was on the back burner just because of the staff we had there at the time was kind of front end loaded with a lot of really good pitchers at the time. We ended up hosting a regional my freshman year, and the only way I could get on the field was position playing, and so that led to me just focusing on hitting it for the time being. Sophomore year, we ended up getting a new pitching coach come to town, and he kind of had the same philosophy. He was like, hey, we'll build the foundation your sophomore year and kind of work on everything from there while you're still playing the field every day, every game. And then junior year comes around, sort of figure it out on the mound when it comes to the fall. I think I start that year as the Sunday job, end up working into the Friday, and kind of stuck that out for all of my junior year, pitched well, hit well, and then senior year came around, which was COVID. Was kind of slumping at the plate, arm didn't feel that great, just was having a rough year, and thankfully they canceled the whole season, and it gave us that year back. And so for the time being, I had a great time at Houston, but it allowed me to put my name into the transfer portal because I kind of wanted to get that full college experience of going to play at a huge SEC school, and that was me going to Arkansas, and I had a blast and learned a lot when it comes to the analytics sides of baseball and everything there.
Was Johnson still the pitching coach at Arkansas in 21?
So the pitching coach when I was at Arkansas was Matt Hobbs, and he did amazing things for me there. Same thing with Terry Rooney at Houston. He laid the foundation for me, so both of those guys were huge in my development just as a pitcher.
I'm trying to think of pitchers from Houston around that era. I think Kyle Dowdy was, but was he on the team with you, or was he before?
So he was before I got there. There was Seth Romero, who kind of had his stint in pro ball. There was a few guys, lefty, John King. I can't remember if he's with the Rangers still or not, but a big leaguer there. Aaron Fletcher. There was a good group of guys there, and Jared Triolo, who was actually with Altoona last year, was a guy I grew up with. Third baseman. He's with the big league team now with the Pirates.
Oh, that's awesome.
So good group of guys. Corey Jolks, another guy out of there, big league with the Astros.
Astros now, yeah.
We had a
good team for Houston.
Really loaded team at the time, and did really go it.
Yeah, who knew at the time? So then you go to Arkansas, and then you're drafted by the Dodgers in the 9th round, right? What was the draft experience like for you? You're a senior, so they're going to try to get a big haircut on you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I knew what it was going into it. You don't have much leverage as a fifth year as is. And so for me, it wasn't getting drafted out of high school. It turned it down. Like, that was my first time getting the phone call.
Yeah.
So it was a really cool experience to just kind of go to my dad afterwards and be like, hey, finally got the phone call. We're doing this thing, and see how long we can play this dream for.
Yeah, and so you're with the Dodgers for a while, and then this year you get to what, the Southern League? Is that where it was, or
Texas League?
Texas League. That's right, Texas League.
Yeah.
And things aren't going great, it appears. And then, well, how's that go? They just put you in the office and give you the.
It's everything you hear about. It's say, hey man, can you come talk to me for a second? Pull you in the office. Next thing you know, it's all pitching coaches, coordinators, and they kind of talk you down. They sit you down, and they're just like, hey, we don't really see a path. We're gonna put you on the depth list. You're allowed, if you want to hang out, you can hang out here and train, be with the guys, love you around the clubhouse. And so that was one of those things you get with the agent. You're like, hey, is it able to get a trade or anything like that going on? Luckily, was able to get something done and show up in Erie.
Yeah, I was just going to say the numbers are night and day. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about was, like last night, I noticed that you were able to bury the slider pretty well on lefties and righties a little bit. But a couple weeks ago against Hartford, it looks like you were throwing a curveball, and it was really well done. So my question to you is, in terms of when you got to Detroit, did they help you kind of figure out exactly like just what would work best? Because like the strikeout numbers have really stood out.
So for me, whenever I got to Erie, so I've been predominantly a 3-pitch mix guy. I really like my slider early in counts, and so it was just one of those things, pitching to the game plan rather than the feel of the game.
Yeah.
And so fourth inning came around after I think the third or the second was the rough inning I had out there.
I think it was,
one of those two.
And that was funny. That felt like there were 5 runs on the scoreboard.
Right.
The inning was like a 10-minute inning or whatever. And I look up, it's like only 2 runs. That's fine. And one of them was a sac fly, right? Like it's and then you lock back in. The last couple innings were great, and it felt like. So the slider's like 84-ish, mid-80s?
Yeah, it's in about that range. It's anywhere from 83 up to 86 when it's going well. And it's kind of one of those pitches now for me where I can kind of shape it as I want to, where it turns into a cutter, kind of top zone. If you want to talk numbers-wise, it's about 5 vert, 5 horizontal. So when just hammering into righties, and then when it's really on in depthy, it's probably -1.7, like going down and in. But the curveball's anywhere 75 to 81 when it's going good, and that splitter's kind of been the hit or miss pitch right now.
Yeah, it's tough to develop a pitch in the middle of the season.
Right.
Yeah, and it looked like you were holding your velo. It was like 91 early, and then I think you touched 93 in the 6th inning. Well, that works if you're holding it for 100 pitches. And I'm trying to think. Oh God, you got the comebacker.
You do that was so close too, man.
When I saw the glove go down, I was like, I don't think I'm getting to this one.
But right, and got the next guy. You struck out the final batter, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was an impressive outing. I'm curious. So, what do you think is your best pitch?
Slider for sure.
Okay.
I mean, as much as I wish I was the 97-mile-an-hour fastball guy, I'm really not. But the slider has kind of been one of those things ever since I learned the grip in college. It was just a great feeling pitch for me because of playing football for such a long time. It's that same feel, and it's a very easy pitch for me to move around and shape. So it's just, for me, it's my favorite.
Out there throwing spirals, basically, right?
Pretty much.
Were you quarterback in high school? Or?
Quarterback for a little bit of high school, hung it up my sophomore year and just focused on the baseball stuff, but that feel just makes the most sense to me.
We have a buddy he works for Perfect Game. He's their national cross-checker.
Gotcha.
And he said, you were the best defensive first baseman he ever saw in high school.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take that. Because for whatever that's worth, I'm like, as long as you're the best at something, then you'll be good. So I mean, as we were saying, you were working as a reliever with the Dodgers. You're a starter here. What do you prefer a role?
I mean, I prefer just being out there on a routine. Having the starter's routine is great, just because the body is allowed to get my work in, kind of keep all the weight on and keep myself in a good spot to go out there every 5th, 6th day, whatever we're doing. Versus the reliever role was kind of something I wasn't used to. Never did it in college, never did it in high school, and was kind of just thrusted into it.
Gotcha.
So it was a little bit odd of a feel, and then it was going out there. It was like, hey, we're going to throw your best stuff-wise pitch, which happened to be off speeds, and that's where you see the walks start to climb and everything
harder
like that.
to locate, I guess, if you're throwing that. Yeah, that's interesting. And sometimes it's a temperament thing, right? Like you got to be like a little bit crazy sometimes to be a bullpen guy, and maybe Alex Lang. I think.
But Lockhart's a prime example. I think you're a prime example of not looking at the stat line and looking deeper into somebody and looking at somebody that can be effective versus just.
You mean the stats with the Dodgers?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Because some people, it's just like we get fans who are like, look at the stats.
Don't scout the box score.
Don't scout the box score.
So I don't know. That's about all the baseball stuff I have. Do you have anything else that you want to do? Goals for the rest of the season. Goals for.
Yeah.
I mean, keep throwing well. I mean, that's really it. Just try and get a bunch of innings under the belt. Just coming from the Dodgers, it was kind of down on innings. So getting here, working into the starters role, just trying to get back to where all the guys are. I think just about everybody here, starter-wise, is near 70, 80, I want to say.
Yeah.
So I want to say I'm behind the 8 ball on that one quite a bit right now. So just try to catch up. Yeah, trying to get up to it. So we'll see if we get there.
Is Hartford in the other division?
Yes, they're in the other division.